years ago, I was looking into my grandfather's history, what he was doing during the war, and speaking to my grandmother. Because of everyone was killed on the flight, there's nothing in Portugal or in England to commemorate the passengers and the crew. So I thought I would try and put a plaque up in Lisbon Airport. I tried a number of times, but it may be the combination of not having Portuguese as my first language, and I thought about giving up, but then I thought if I can't put a plaque up in Lisbon, I'll try Bristol, which is closest to Whitchurch. And I got in contact with Mike. I sent an email and he was very, very interested, and with his contacts in Bristol Airport we was able to go over to Lisbon last year and put a plaque up in Lisbon Airport. He was a mining engineer and he was over in Lisbon trading in wolfram, which is known by the German name of tungsten. And I think it's on the Portuguese-Spanish borders, there's a lot of quantity of wolframite, and he was buying it. And he was told to buy at any cost, and one of the reasons being was that Britain was being bankrolled by various wealthy people, and my grandfather's boss owned a number of diamond and gold mines, and we think he was helping fund the payment for the wolfram. With that, he was also trading in the diamonds, industrial diamonds, to make the wire in the submarines a lot thinner, and he had just finished a mission in Lisbon, and it was reported that he was paying £5,000 to £7,000 for a ton of wolfram. He then had completed his mission, he was due to fly back, and there was someone else that wanted to go on the flight before him, and he gave up his seat to spend a week in the sun relaxing instead of being over in England like the weather is today. And he got onto the flight all ready to come home, and over the Bay of Biscay the plane was shot down.
Did he ever talk about Portugal or what is happening in Portugal or the people he contacted in Portugal?
No, my grandmother was very old school. She wouldn't say that much. You would be able to sit her down every so often, ask her about certain things during the war. She would tell you a few things and then she'll clam up, and you wouldn't get anything out of her until the next time. But on one occasion my aunt remembered that when my grandfather returned from trips, he would always bring fresh fruit, and my aunt would share the fruit with the other children in the street because everyone was so amazed to see these fresh fruit. And on one occasion that she was sitting in the kitchen table and there was a small bag, and she had a look inside and tipped the contents on the table, which she thought were marbles, and these were uncut diamonds, which was one of the things that my grandfather was using to pay for the wolfram. It seems there's a lot more going on in Portugal that is still secret, and I think there could be some more digging over in Portugal, because there must be some answers over there, and it must be dealing with the wolfram, and there must be other things connected to Lisbon and Portugal. On one account, when we was in Lisbon last year, a government official, his father-in-law was on the Portuguese side of the wolfram trade, and he was also selling to the Germans, and he made a mistake with a decimal point, and he was petrified that he was going to be shot or disappear, and the Germans just paid the amount. They didn't quibble. They were so desperate for this ore.
Do you have any information about what kind of man your grandfather was?
Yes, he was very sporting. He was enjoying life. He was in the prime of his life. He had studied well at college. He was fairly well off, and he had the opportunity to go a lot further in the various companies. Before the war, he was working for Selection Trust, which is now part of the Rio Tinto group, and he was a fairly high senior manager working there. And you do sometimes wonder that if he had survived the war, what would he have been doing after the war? Would he have gone up even further? And what would have happened to my aunt and my father? That they could have completely changed in direction, and you don't know. There's many questions. But he seemed that they used to have fun, my grandmother and my grandfather. When they were both alive, they used to enjoy the higher end of life, going places, doing things. And my grandmother wouldn't say that much what she actually did or what he did during the war years.